welcome to a world first. A world first. Have we got sound now, Tim, do you think? Well, I'm going to play that again, because we lost all the impact of that little nice bit of content there, didn't we? I'll start again. Welcome to a world first. The Simpsons and trade shows. I'm so honoured to be with you this morning. You are my people, we're trade show and exhibition organisers, and I'm going to talk therefore about two of my favourite things. And I guess the first question is this a joke? And the answer is no, this is not a joke, this is a couch gag. And there are about 700 couch gags in The Simpsons, which I think stands as a cultural icon of our times. One of the things we all tend to say when we gather together like this, or we fund our various causes, is, would someone please think of the exhibitions? We feel as if mainstream media ignores us, or certainly doesn't acknowledge our heft and our power, our market size, our ability to shape business. And I want to demonstrate that we've been missing a trick, and we've been missing a trick in the most important... I think I could have a separate presentation why I argue The Simpsons is the most important cultural work ever. But certainly The Simpsons is the most important cultural work of our time. Can I just check who has at least watched one episode of The Simpsons? Fantastic. Any die-hard fans I need to be careful of getting something wrong in front of? No, good. The Simpsons is truly a cultural phenomenon. There are over 700 episodes of The Simpsons. It is the longest running TV show in history. It is the longest running animation in history. It has received 35 Emmys, and there are numerous catchphrases and memes from The Simpsons which have entered the common language. Oh, eat my shorts. These are things that we would say every day. This is a modern day Shakespeare. And it behoves us to consider that if this modern day cultural phenomenon, the greatest single cultural phenomenon of all time, is still in a world of media fragmentation in the US, gets 4 million viewers for a new episode, as opposed to the 30 million in its height. That's huge. 10% of America was watching this every Sunday afternoon, the first time. So it's a huge cultural icon. And if The Simpsons talks about us, then that's important, because what it's going to say about us is important. We might not like it, we might rebel against it, but what it says about us is important. So I guess the elephant in the room is, does The Simpsons actually talk about trade shows? Well, let me tell you something. This elephant, does anyone know what this elephant's name is? Stampy. The elephant in The Simpsons is called Stampy. And guess what? This is Stampy, and guess what room Stampy is in? He's on a booth at a trade show. There's not an elephant in the room. The elephant is in a trade show. And The Simpsons talks about trade shows a very great deal. In fact, The Simpsons loves trade shows. Springfield has a convention centre. It's actually a convention centre that gets a makeover. Capital City, the big city, the state city, has a bigger trade show centre. So The Simpsons is already acknowledging, first important point, The Simpsons is already acknowledging that trade shows are part of the business and cultural fabric of any well-functioning culture, society and civilization and town. They're part of the town. So, and the next bit is really interesting. The Simpsons has plenty of events in these trade shows. There are over 20 episodes of The Simpsons where trade... If I just showed you the clips that took place in trade shows, it would last longer than 2.5 hours. That's not the people being excited about going to the trade show, that's not the consequence of having attended the trade show, that's just in trade shows. 2.5 hours, and the only medium that The Simpsons talks about more is film and TV. It doesn't talk about radio like that, doesn't talk about direct marketing like that, doesn't talk about the internet like that. Newspaper, trade shows, they're important. We are seen. And so I'm just going to give you a brief summary, because you might think that they were stupid trade shows, of the trade shows. And what I would do these shows, either say you worked on that show,
or you've attended a show like that, and we'll see just how accurate it is. Franchise Expo. Yeah, we've all been. Has anyone actually won a Franchise Expo? Good, because the Franchise Expo clip we're going to show is a bit controversial. A health fair. We've all been to health fairs, yeah. Science fiction convention. Annual Close Encounters of the Comic Book convention. Candy convention. We've been to candy conventions. We've been to, these are all you, Rob. The Mega Savings Seminar. Bring your own chair. Shoe Expo. Entrepreneurs Expo. The Totally Sick Twisted Animation Festival. That's just like a children half price. CrustyCon. Right, we've all done this. Alternative Energy Expo. I used to run an Alternative Energy Expo. It's a whole dedicated to my event. Oven Mitt Convention. Does anyone get the joke here? If the mitt don't fit, we will remit. That's an O.J. Simpson joke. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Lots of little jokes in The Simpsons. It's very, very multi-layered. And the Home and Garden Show. Now, we've all been to a Home and Garden Show, right? That's 18 shows that exist in The Simpsons. This is Jonathan Swift, probably the greatest prose satirist of English literature. He wrote Gulliver's Travels, for those of you who don't have English degrees. And Jonathan Swift said, satire is a sort of glass wherein beholders do generally discover everybody's face but their own. And what he meant was that when satire happens, everybody laughs at it because they don't recognise that it's about them. And The Simpsons is satirical. And this is perhaps the most important point to make before we start to dive into some episodes and some analysis. The Simpsons satire can range from extremely visceral, extremely sharp, to very fond and very gentle. That's the first point to make. Sometimes the tease is gentle. The second and more subtle but equally important point is that sometimes it's going to look as if it is trade shows that The Simpsons is taking the piss out of, and I don't think it is. I think The Simpsons is doing something very, very important. The Simpsons is saying we all get trade shows. Trade shows are our foundation, and because we all understand the dynamic of trade shows, we can therefore take the piss out of something else. Does that make sense? Trade shows are our bedrock. Now, I'm not saying in these clips I'm going to show you trade shows aren't also being taken the piss out of, but I don't think it's perhaps as, I don't think the attack is as at us as it might appear on first sight. So we're going to start with what I regard as The Simpsons' greatest celebration of the power of trade shows. And it's going to take place at a Baby Expo. Baby Expo, anyone? And you thought, oh, more than Trevor Foley has been to or organised a Baby Expo in this room. And the episode is called Brother, Can You Spare Two Dimes? And so a bit of context here. Homer has bankrupted his successful brother from business. And Herb, the voice you're going to think, I know that voice is Danny DeVito, plays Herb. And Herb is going to a Baby Expo to launch his new product. And I think this is pure praise of trade shows. So here we go.
This radio-controlled plane gives your baby the chance to fly, just like my son here. It can execute the barrel roll, loop-de-loop, then bring it in for the perfect landing. Oh dear, my wife is going to kill me.
I only want to eat candy.
Then that's all you'll get.
This leash demeans us both.
I'll take 2.
I'll take a dozen. I represent the Precious Baby Discount Stores. I'll take 50,000.
I'm Fritz Chicken! USA! USA! USA!
That's what we believe our events do. That is a perfect, humorous encapsulation of what trade shows do at their best. They allow people with innovations to launch new products, to connect with their markets, both B2C and B2B, and change the world. The Simpsons did not choose trade shows to do that on a whim. It did it because of the thing we all say all the time. There is no better place to launch a product than a trade show. And it is no small thing that The Simpsons agrees with us. Now, we could pull at a few interesting threads should we want to. You've got Professor Frink with his baby flying machine and the dog in the ball. Our trade shows are also full of sometimes slightly idiosyncratic, sometimes slightly off-the-ball ideas. But that's just part of the rich colour of what we create. At heart, if you want to take your products to a new market, to engage the community, The Simpsons says trade shows rock, as certified by The Simpsons. Actual trade show may not resemble trade show advertised. The next example I'm going to give is one of my favourites, but it is not a good view of us. Specifically, actually, it's not a good view of our exhibitors. It's quite a short clip. So I don't want, no one must take offence at me about the fact that The Simpsons thinks this is how our exhibitors behave. We're going to talk about the consequences of that, just to give you fair warning.
If we buy a new car, we get our parking validated for free. Do you come with a car?
Oh, you.
Do you come with the car?
Oh, you.
We've all seen it, booth babes. This kind of exclusionary element of our industry because we represent society. So one of the lessons I draw from this is that's the way we're perceived. We have got to make sure our events are inclusive, they're diverse. But more specifically, we have got to encourage our exhibitors to exhibit better than that. Because that becomes, excuse me, at the same time as we're the best place to launch a product story, it becomes we're easy to parody because we're seen as being sexist and demeaning. So I like this example. It's a good. There are other examples from this event, the auto show, which reflect the need to buy. But this is a really good example. We've got to be aware that this sexism isn't how we're perceived. I ought to say, just as an aside, thank you to Wiki Fandom, who've helped me with the website, which has helped me with some of my research and the images. And just so any of you who are worried, we are transforming these works of art and critiquing them. So just like a reaction video on YouTube, we're not in any copyright issue here because we are taking them and transformative and using them for educational purposes.
Greetings, humans. I am Investo the robot from the planet Opportuniac. My superior brain advises you to enter the franchise fair.
Well, we're trying to, but you're blocking our way.
Danger! Danger! Don't forget to pick up pamphlets.
I'll handle this.
Help. Security code 30.
Well, that's the miracle of the franchise. You get all the equipment and know-how you need, plus a familiar brand name people trust. You'll be on a rocket ride to the moon. And while you're there, would you pick up some of that nice green moon money for me? Royce McCutcheon.
No deal, McCutcheon. That moon money is mine.
Now, folks, I don't want to alarm you, but scientists say 40% of America's pictures are hanging crooked.
No.
Yeah, it's true. And I hear you asking, well, who's going to straighten out all these artistic abominations? Your friends? A neighbor? Those fat cats in Washington? Good luck. Hey, maybe no one will notice. Maybe the problem will just fix itself.
Now you're the one who's being naive.
Okay, fair enough. But you sound like you're ready to become your own boss in the exciting world of frame nudging. Yes, for a minimal franchise fee, you'll receive a pair of straightening gloves, a canister of wall lubricant, and a booklet of the most commonly asked questions you will hear, including, who are you, and what are you doing here?
I don't want to own my own business. I don't know why I came here.
So I love this example. So the important thing to bear in mind is that Marge does go on in this episode at the Franchise Expo to find the franchise that she wants to run. So again, exhibition success. She picks a pretzel baking business and she turns that business into a huge commercial success. I mean, albeit with some help from the mafia, but nevertheless, a huge testament to the power of exhibitions and the mafia in this example. But I kind of thought hard about this example because I wasn't sure what lesson we could draw from it. Because I think on the face of it, the first lesson is our exhibitions are full of exhibitors, and we often take the quick buck. Like, we'll take the picture framing franchise because it fills that 9 square meters we've still got to go. And actually that demeans the exhibition, it demeans us and its poor product. And then I realized I was completely wrong. I thought I was being satirized for that. And I don't think that's the whole truth. There's a really profound, important lesson for us in this clip. And I'll tell it by telling you where I started my working career. I started my working life at Angler's Mail. I wasn't a fisherman, I worked on a fishing magazine. In fact, I ended up working on 4 fishing magazines. And everybody I knew teased me because I worked on a fishing magazine, because it felt nerdy and dumb, and if you didn't like fishing, why did you care about that? And I grew to become very passionate about that community. And when I when I fell into trade shows, because that's the only accepted route to get into trade shows, isn't it? You fall into them. When I fell into trade shows, I realized that every community was exactly the same. And I think what this is about, and it works brilliantly for a franchise expo, is that we must all support one another's quirky exhibitions and quirky communities. Because if we don't, if we take the generic outsider view that this is funny and we should tease it, we forget for that market, for the individual market where these quirky products exist. That's really important. These people matter, and we are actually obliged as a community to support one another's quirky bonkers exhibitors. Because if we don't, we do ourselves a disservice, because we've got our own quirky bonkers exhibitors. We've just forgotten to recognize them. My final example. And I'm going to show you my prop after the example. This is at a candy convention.
Mr. Goodbar to the front desk. The front desk is looking for Mr. Goodbar.
I feel like a kid in some kind of a store. Right. Exquisite. Oh, you'll do well. Give it out.
Well, as you can see, I have created a lemon ball so sour it can only be safely contained in a magnetic field. The candy, known as 77X42, is great. Where the hell is the candy?
I don't know.
Hey, sir, try our wax lips. It's the candy of 1,000 uses.
Like what?
1, a humorous substitute for your own lips.
Keep going.
2, oh, I'm needed in the basement.
Oh, you're gonna have to put some sugar on that celery or get out, ma'am.
Gummy bears, gummy calves heads, gummy jawbreakers. What tack?
That is the rarest gummy of them all, the gummy Venus de Milo, carved by gummy artisans who work exclusively in the medium of gummy.
Will you two stop saying gummy so much?
Must have rare gummy. Distract the salesman.
No, I won't make a spectacle out of myself any further.
What?
Oh. How'd they get there?
So much going on in this episode. By the way, the build-up to this, where they're at home and Homer has got the tickets to go to the candy convention, and so Lisa and Bart are kind of, take me. He says, no, I'm taking your mum because she can carry more candy than you can. And they accede to this request because it's for the greater good. So there's all sorts of stuff here, isn't there? It's the use of free stuff. It's that kind of a prop. It's the wax lips. We've got to help those exhibitors exhibit better. Like the bloke literally does this, his joke wall, because he's exhibiting so badly. We've got to be better at helping our exhibitors. But then we come to, and I have one here, a gummy Venus de Milo. And I'm going to give this gummy Venus de Milo to whoever asks the gummiest question at the end. Which is a gummy Venus de Milo. And I think it is a wonderful encapsulation, not actually just of our power to launch, like Baby Expo, but of a trade show's power to exploit other media in its launch or in its behaviour. Now, interestingly enough, and Andrew can tell you this is true, 25 years ago, I won an award for a chocolate art gallery, which had famous works of art on pieces of chocolate at a trade show. This is not a joke. This is what good exhibiting looks like, because it does two things. It creates that moment on the stand, that moment where the object, it creates the appeal. Homer wants it. There's a crowd gathered. The sour ball does the same thing, but it's a PR stunt. And that PR stunt doesn't exist very well outside of our world. It's why all of the big brands in gaming and computing launch their products at trade shows, because the audience is gathered, the media is gathered, and you can make a huge, huge impact just by using us as a resource. And so for me, across the piece, we've seen all these kind of good and bad. We've seen the robot. Like, who doesn't hate that fucking robot at trade shows that gets in your way? It's awful. There are too many pamphlets. There are sweets being given out glibly. So all of our foibles, all of our flaws, all of our exhibitors' foibles and flaws are encapsulated in just those 4 clips, right, which last 8 minutes, not the 2.5 hours I could have subjected you to. I'll show. But also our innate power, our deep, deep-rooted position in culture and in business and commerce. And we shouldn't forget that as we say, won't someone please think of the exhibitions? Because they do think of us. They actually take us for granted. They know us really well. We're part of the fabric of the way they think. And we should take that positivity for granted and use that when we are all out there advocating and evangelizing for our industry. Because the truth is, I think Swift overcomplicates satire at this point. I think Swift is making it too. It's not about beholding us. There's something more important that Homer says.
It's funny because it's true.
It's funny because it's true. Thank you for having me. Who wants to win a gummy bear? A gummy Venus de Milo? Lee. Oh. I know. Well, so I think it's a really interesting question. So several people in this room I've met from running exhibitor workshops. I had a show called Exhibiting Show 20 years ago, dedicated to trying to help people exhibit more effectively. And I think there were a number of strands at play. So on the whole, I think exhibitors are better, and I think organisers are much, much better at trying to get the best out of their exhibitors. Then there are 3 things that come into play because the cycles aren't aligned. So the first is the sales cycle is not aligned with the exhibitor's planning cycle. The second is that as an industry, we still, to my mind, have this horrible mashup of ops and marketing, and ops takes precedence, and I think it is to our detriment. I don't think other media has that. They're not as entwined in other media, and their marketing's given a higher status. I'll give you an example. I did an exhibitor workshop last week, and that exhibitor workshop was 6 weeks out from the show. And it was really about making sure you ordered your electric, so you come into the party, those kind of very practical, important things. And I'm there talking about how they can do clever things on their stand. Hey, something, no one's changing their stand 6 weeks out. It seems to me, if you really want to get your exhibitors participating more effectively, then you have to have some more consultancy, as not necessarily as part of the sales, but immediately post-sales. You need to work with those important exhibitors. You need to be training the less important ones earlier. You need to be working, and actually specifically, we need a better alliance between organisers and what I would call exhibit houses. So non-full service contractors who are building those big stands or those creative stands need to have a better awareness of the media they work with. Again, I don't think that gap is as big in other media. I think there's a better synergy. So that the marketing point of the exhibition that tactical delivery becomes planned and dealt with in a collaborative way, but earlier. But that's hard, right? And we, by and large, we have profitable events, and you might argue this is all icing on cake. But I still think it's important. Well,
Open it.
Can I just interrupt there? Because that car, so Homer's brother runs a successful automobile business. He meets Homer, they're long lost brothers. Homer goes into the business and designs a car, and it's like the worst car you've ever seen. And that's the car that bankrupts Herb. That means he needs to launch the baby machine. So just nerding out there. Sorry, Rob. And because you're a clever guy, that's clearly the hardest question you can ask me, right? Because that's all very well, Simon, and we can all go out and evangelize and we can improve our exhibitors, but so what? So I think, I'm not saying everyone can do this, but I do think, given that your exhibitors and your attendees think this stuff, they think it, you might be in denial, they think this. Are there ways in which you can satirize yourself? Can you have spoof keynotes? Could you have a spoof stand? Could you train your promotional and greeting staff to play up that juxtaposition? And actually, as I started to think, I think there's a really, really powerful, if someone was brave enough, spoof keynote to start the day. But it needs to be industry specific. You can't just spoof a keynote. You've got to spoof a keynote in your market. And I think if someone did that, the ripple of that, the ability to take the piss out of yourself, to acknowledge that, to be collaborative with your market. Do you remember, Trevor, when Twangling Jack did the spoof at the AO conference? So there was a company, a comedy company, who did a spoof keynote. And their keynote was that they were two gangsters and it happened upon, ironically, a baby show. And they were pitching the baby show organisers how they were going to increase their attendance by standing outside Mothercare, bullying the mums into do it. And it really nice. Everybody loved it. It was very warmly received. I think that's actually the answer, Rob. It's to not deny it. It's to take it on the chin and incorporate it. Like a design week, you can imagine you could have a whole spoof exhibit or a whole spoof as part of that, and it would be the talk of the town, right? That would be how I'd try and do it. Any observations, comments? Are you going to go away and watch The Simpsons now?
Well, question. Funny. Well, but there's a fire. Have you said so?
You have to ask the rest of them in this room, but go ahead. This gentleman thinks I'm a smart guy, so that's his blatant pitch for the gummiest question, but I'm not sure it's going to rub.
We'll see what Tracy does. And there we well, how about
Well, you used to take us all to lunch back in the day, but no one does that anymore. So,
hey, but
well, clearly that's what any sensible business is doing in its market. I'd say two things. One builds on Rob's point. Just don't publish boring, bland stuff. We're just drowning in boring, bland stuff. Be different, be unique. Even if your product's boring and bland, try to gummy Venus de Milo it. So I think I've had a 25-year career in the industry trying to get people to be more creative, to engage. And the other thing I think you suppliers don't do enough is they don't ask what the problem is. But they tend to ask, how do we do what we did last year for either a bit more or a bit less and with more efficiency? But I don't see many suppliers really getting under the skin of what is your problem on this show with this community and how can we help address that. And I think that's about employing salespeople or account managers who've got that skill set, who aren't just worried. Like the chairs should be there on time, is what I always say. I just don't care if I've got chairs coming, they need to be there on time, and I take that for granted. There's a more profound conversation about why I need chairs. Are these the right colour? Is there a way in which I can make the chairs more effective? And I think that suppliers have, by and large, so I can be parodied this, not had, they've had order takers, not account managers. And I think that is changing. As you do that, you'll change that dynamic. But you ask the actual organisers in the room, because I don't do it anymore. So I'm perhaps not the expert, but I am a smart guy. So thank you for that. Still not getting the gummy. Anything else, or should I free you? Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being part of the world's first ever presentation of the Simpsons and trade shows. And at this event, the gummiest question will go to Rob Nathan from Media 10 for asking me what it actually meant. So here is our presentation moment. And you see, this is carved entirely from the medium of 3D resin. But there you go. We'll take a picture of us with that later. I'll be around all day. I'm chairing a panel this afternoon. So thank you for having me. Thank you for being part of it.